Om Savakaya Jadharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Savakaya Jadharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Avadara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Math Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya pratyo ma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate, who came to establish universal religion. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic I am continuing Masters, Sri Ramakrishna's masterly teachings. The whole gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is full of Sri Ramakrishna's practical instructions to all the spiritual seekers. What is needed in spiritual life is nothing but spiritual practice. It is spiritual practice that makes you spiritual. So how to do spiritual practice? What are the ways? What is the purpose of spiritual life? All these things are very clearly defined by Sri Ramakrishna. The whole purpose of human life is to realize the truth. So we must have this firm, determined conviction that the purpose of human life is to realize the truth. Spiritual life starts from this conviction. If you don't have this conviction, spiritual life is not started at all. So, why should we realize after the truth? Why should we have this purpose in life? That's a very valid question. People think that the purpose of life is to enjoy, just to enjoy this youthful stage before it passes away. That's the ordinary view of the people. That means they are not concerned about the problems of life. They are focused only on the pleasures of life. But pleasures end up in pain. Man cannot be always having pleasurous life. Time will come when he is unable to enjoy any pleasure. Then he will be passing his days in terrible grieving, suffering over past industry, past deeds, and get into innumerable problems arising out of family life. At the hour of death, his life is full of stress and strain, anxieties, and so on. So, it is too late to think of any spirituality. But still, it doesn't mean that people cannot practice spiritual life at the later end of life. It's possible, but that percentage is only probably 1%. It may be less than that. So, we must have clear conviction about the purpose of life. This also has been given to us, pointed out to us by the great masters of the world. Look, this is the purpose of life. Purpose of life is to realize the truth. And to realize the truth, there is no way but to come on this earth planet. It's only on this planet God has given us faculties to practice spirituality. In no other realm, in no other region of the universe, man is able to practice. Heaven is meant for enjoyment. Hell is meant for suffering. So heavens and hells are having fixed programs. So, question of using your faculties doesn't arise there. It's only on this Bhuloka, earth planet, God has given us all the faculties to use properly and get out of this mire of worldliness. Worldliness means suffering. So real happiness you will know only when you turn, roundabout turn, towards spiritual life. Then only you will have the glimpse of real, true happiness. On this topic, true happiness. True happiness comes only realizing the truth. That true happiness lies in our own heart of hearts. The divine light residing in our heart. Once we realize this, then we will be immersed in extreme peaceful joy. In that realization you feel you want nothing. You want nothing. That is the culmination of your cycle of birth and death. The cycle we are tossed about, coming again and again because of wanting something. I want to do something. Desires. So desires push you to take birth. So, to stop this cycle of birth and death, this passing through the fire of suffering, is to get into that state of realization of the Atman. Wonder of wonders is the God of the universe, the Supreme Soul of the universe, the sum total of all our souls. He is residing in our heart, witnessing all our actions and awarding results. So, we are encased, embodied. As long as we are in embodied state, we will be in some kind of suffering. Jiva means embodied soul. So freedom comes only when you get out of this embodied state. Most wonderful philosophy is that how the embodied soul is perpetually encased in some kind of embodied state until he realizes the divine truth. Even though the man is said to be dying, really speaking he is not dead. He is just passing out of this gross body, but he goes with his subtle body. He is encased in his subtle body. He can't just tear off the subtle body as he wants to wish. No. The subtle body is mind. Mind always comes with him. Mind is the storehouse of all the past deeds and present deeds. Everything is stored up. It is the account book. You can't escape. Even the minutest action, minutest thought is recorded in the mind. Whatever you have done knowingly or unknowingly is all recorded there. And it produces its own results. God has made such a law. He has made automatic. This automatism was from the time immemorial. Only people now are realizing that they are the inventors of automatism. No. The cosmic law is such, everything is go automatically. Strictly they follow. So, but the Mahatmas, they come to warn us, to give us right direction. Why all these things are happening? Because it is explained, it's all the divine glory of the Lord. Just a game. That's all. So if you take up this idea that the whole function of the whole universe is nothing but game, that gives you a kind of pleasing calmness to face the situation. Well, everything is game. And second important point, Sri Ramakrishna points out that we must, without any doubt, accept the presence of the divine. God is behind everything. The most real thing in this universe is the presence of God. Everything else is unreal. God with the world is real. God minus world is not real. So, God is the most real thing that we should adore, worship and realize. That means world without God is unreal. It is nothing but trash. In substance, what is God? God is nothing but super consciousness. The source of everything, the light of lights, the joy of joys, supreme bliss, Satchidananda Swarupa. He is that. Sri Ramakrishna was seated with his devotees in the drawing room of Ramakrishna Mukherjee's house in Calcutta. A large number of neighbors and other friends of Ramakrishna had been invited to meet Sri Ramakrishna. So they were all very eager to hear his words. Master whenever he would begin to talk, he would always give spiritual ideas. He would always try to awaken us from the slumber of ignorance. So here, Sri Ramakrishna begins to talk. God and His glory. All the visitors were all in rapt attention to hear the words of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna's face was beaming with joy. Anybody could realize that here is a great saint who is all peaceful and blissful, who is ever compassionate, who is ever blessing. But please note, even at that point of time, how many people would come to meet Sri Ramakrishna? It is only those who are fortunate, only those who have spiritual inclination, only those who are blessed are able to meet Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna explains, what is this universe? Please try to ponder, try to think about it. Ask this question, what is this universe? And Sri Ramakrishna replies, the universe is His glory. The whole universe is the glory of God. If you see the wonder of creation, how many varieties of trees, plants, living beings, varieties, innumerable, infinite. You can't count them. That is the glory. But this glory acts as an attraction. People see His glory and forget everything. That is, they don't seek God, whose glory is this world. All seek to enjoy lust and gold, lust and gold. How Sri Ramakrishna has epitomized the whole thing. He added one more thing later on. Lust, gold and land, property. These are the three terrible strings binding every one of us. But there is too much misery and worry in that. This world is like the whirlpool of the Vishalakshi, a stream near Sri Ramakrishna's birthplace. Once a boat gets into it, there is no hope of its rescue. Again, the world is like a thorny bush. You have hardly freed yourself from one set of thorns before you found yourself entangled in another. Once you enter a labyrinth, you find it difficult to get out. Living in the world, a man becomes seared, as it were. A devotee asks the question, Sir, what is the way? Sri Ramakrishna gives the solution. Prayer and the company of the holy men. You can't get rid of an ailment without the help of a physician. But it is not enough to be in the company of religious people only for a day. Just you have holy company only weekend. That too, not only all weekends, some of the weekends. Even among the coming weekends also, not Saturday, only Sunday. Even Sunday also, half Sunday, not full Sunday. Then even there are people who say for a few hours, not even half Sunday. Like that, this won't work. Sri Ramakrishna says, this won't work. You should constantly seek it. You must be serious about it. And you must utilize the opportunity. Having come here, you must spend time in studies, spiritual practices, meditation, prayers, and so on. Coming to ashrama itself is a sadhana. We have thousands of reasons, valid reasons for not coming to ashram. But in spite of that, if you make somehow to come to the ashrama, that itself is a great sadhana. That itself is a great spiritual practice. Coming to ashrama means seeking holy company. So, doing prayer and meditation in a holy place is uplifting than a person doing the same thing in the home. In the home there are so many diversions, so many pulls around you. This moment you are trying to think of God, the next moment there is a pull. Your mind is diverted. But here you are come away, all the way from the home. Away from the home you have come. You have come to the divine abode. Ashrama means divine abode. You feel that as soon as you enter the gate, you must immediately feel, I am entering the abode of God. That feeling itself gives you an uplifting thinking. With that attitude, you must come and do your practices. They have tremendous benefits for the spiritual seekers. Sri Ramakrishna says, you should constantly seek the company of the holy. Why? Because the worldly disease has become chronic. You can't understand the pulse rightly unless you live with a physician. Moving with him constantly, you learn to distinguish between the pulse of phlegm and the pulse of bile. The devotee asked the question, Sir, what is the good of holy men? Sri Ramakrishna answers, it begets yearning for God. It begets love of God. Nothing whatsoever is achieved in spiritual life without yearning by constantly living in the company of holy persons. The soul becomes restless for God. He becomes serious about seeking God. This yearning is like the state of mind of a man who has someone ill in the family. His mind is in a state of perpetual restlessness, thinking how the sick person may be cured. Or again, one should feel a yearning for God like the yearning of a man who had lost his job and is wandering from one office to another in search of work. If he is rejected at a certain place that has no vacancy, he goes there again the next day and inquires, Sir, is there any vacancy today? There is another way. Earnestly praying to God. God is our very own. We should say to Him, Oh God, what's your nature? Reveal yourself to me. You must show yourself to me. For why else have you created me? Some Sikh devotees once said to me, God is full of compassion. Sri Ramakrishna said, why should we call Him compassionate? He is our creator. What is there to be wondered at it if He is kind to us? Parents bring up their children. Do you call that an act of kindness? They must act that way. Therefore, we should force our demands on God. Just as the child forces his demand on the mother, God is our father and mother. Jagan Mata Pita, Bhagavan Shri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Vibhuti Yoga it tells that. I am the father and mother of the universe. If the son demands his patrimony and gives up food and drink in order to enforce his demand, then the parent hands his share over to him 3 years before the legal time. Or when the child demands some peace from his mother and says over and over again, "Mother, give me a couple of rupees, I beg you," on my knees, then the mother, seeing his earnestness and unable to bear it anymore, tosses the money at him. Parents sacrifice a lot for the sake of children. But the children, if they are not properly educated, in the later years they ignore their parents and they forget all the sacrifice the parents have done for uplifting his education, etc. They become sometimes brutal. There is another benefit from holy company. It helps one cultivate discrimination between the real and the unreal. God alone is real, that is to say, the eternal substance, and the world is unreal, that is to say, transitory. A thing that is constantly changing, you can't call it as real. As soon as a man finds his mind wandering away to unreal, he should immediately apply Viveka. The moment an elephant stretches out the trunk to eat a plantain tree in a neighbor's garden, it gets a good blow from the iron goad of the driver. Then the devotee asks the question, "Sir, why does a man have sinful tendencies?" Sri Ramakrishna said, in God's creation, there are all sorts of things. It is He who gives us good tendencies, and it is He who gives us evil tendencies. The devotee asked, in that case, we are not responsible for any of our sins, are we? Sri Ramakrishna said, sin begets its own result. That's God's law. Won't you burn your tongue if you chew a chili? One may not realize this in youth. I have looked into the hearths in the kitchen of the Kali temple when logs are being burnt. At first the wet wood burns rather well. It doesn't seem then that it contains much moisture. But when the wood is sufficiently burnt, all the moisture runs back to one end. At last water squirts from the fuel and puts out the fire. So one should be careful about anger, passion and greed. Take for instance the case of Hanuman. In a fit of anger, he burnt Lanka. At last he remembered that Janaki was living in the Ashoka grove. Then he began to tremble lest the fire should injure her. Then the devotee asked a question, "Sir, why has God created wicked people?" These are all common questions. We ourselves come across these questions mentally. Sri Ramakrishna replied, well, that is His will, His play. In His Maya, there exists ignorance as well as knowledge, avidya as well as vidya. Darkness is needed too. It reveals all the more the glory of light. There is no doubt that anger, lust and greed are evils. Why then has God created them? You ask why? In order to create saints. A man becomes a saint by conquering the senses. Is there anything impossible for a man who has subdued his passions? He can even realize God through His grace. Again, see how His whole play of creation is perpetuated through lust. Wicked people are needed too. At one time, the tenants of an estate became unruly. The landlord had to send Golak Chaudhary, who was a ruffian. He was such a harsh administrator that the tenants trembled at the mention of his name. There is a need for everything. Once Janaki said to her husband, "O Ram, it would be grand if every house in Ayodhya were a mansion. I find many houses old and dilapidated." "But my dear," said Sri Ramchandra, "if all the houses were beautiful, what would the masons do? God has created all kinds of things. He has created good trees. He has created poisonous trees, poisonous plants and weeds as well. Among the animals, there are good, bad and all kinds of creatures. Sir, is it ever possible to realize God while leading the life of a householder?" This is a very common question. Every family person feels this inferiority complex. "Oh, we are householders, we are family people, we can't think of realizing the truth." So they start with this kind of grumbling. But Sri Ramakrishna assures, certainly it is possible to realize God. But one should aspire for God. When the impurities of the mind are thus washed away by strong aspiration, one realizes God. The mind is like a needle covered with mud, and God is like a magnet. The needle cannot be united with the magnet unless it is free from mud. Tears wash away the mud, which is nothing but lust, anger, greed and other evil tendencies, and the inclination to worldly enjoyments as well. As soon as the mud is washed away, the magnet attracts the needle. That is to say, man realizes God. Only the pure in heart see God. A fever patient has an excess of the watery element in his system. What can quinine do for him unless that is removed? Why shouldn't one realize God while living in the world? But, as I said, one must live in holy company, pray to God, weeping for His grace, and now and then go into solitude. Unless the plants on a fit path are protected at first by fences, they are destroyed by cattle. Master said, one cannot achieve anything through laziness and procrastination. People who desire worldly enjoyment say about spiritual progress. They talk very loosely. They talk this way. It is Sri Ramakrishna's words. The worldly people, they say, well, it will all happen in time. We shall realize God sometime or other. So like that they take satisfaction. That time will never come. About procrastination, there is a beautiful story of 3 fishes in Mahabharata. It comes in the Shanti Parva. Addressing Dharmaraja, Bhishma said, these 2, namely, one that provides for the future and one possessed of presence of mind, always enjoys happiness. The man of procrastination, however, is lost. In this connection, There is an excellent story of a procrastinating person in the matter of settling his course of action. In a lake that was not very deep and which abounded with fishes, there lived 3 shakula fishes that were friends and constant companions. Amongst these three, one had much forethought and always liked to provide for what was coming. Another was possessed of great presence of mind. The third was procrastinating. One day, a certain fisherman, coming to that lake, began to bail out its waters to a lower ground through diverse outlets. Seeing the waters of the lake gradually decreasing, the fish that had much foresight, addressing his 2 companions on that occasion of danger, said, "A great danger is about to overtake all the aquatic creatures living in this lake. Let us speedily go to some other place before our path becomes obstructed. He that resists future evil by the aid of good policy never incurs serious danger. Let my counsels prevail with you. Let us all leave this place." That one amongst the 3 who was procrastinating answered, "It is well said. There is, however, no need of such haste. This is my deliberate opinion." Then the other fish, who was noted for the presence of mind, addressed his procrastinating companion and said, "When the time for anything comes, I never fail to provide for it according to policy." Hearing the answers of his 2 companions, he of great forethought and considerable intelligence immediately set out by a current and reached another deep lake. The fisherman, seeing that all the water had been bailed out, shut in the fishes that remained by diverse means. Then they began to agitate the little water that remained, and as they began to catch the fish, the procrastinating shakula was caught with many others. When the fishermen began to tie to a long string the fishes they had caught, the shakula, who was noted for the presence of mind, thrust himself into the company of those that had been so tied and remained quietly among them, biting the string, for the thought that he should do it to give the appearing of being caught. The fishermen believed that all the fishes attached to the string had been caught. They then removed them to a place of deep water for washing them. Just at that time, the shakula, noted for presence of mind, leaving the string, quickly escaped. That fish, however, who had been procrastinating, foolish and senseless and without intelligence as he was, and therefore unable to escape, met with death. Thus, everyone meets with destruction, like the procrastinating fish, who from want of intelligence cannot divine the hour of danger. That man again, who regarding himself clever, does not seek his own good in proper time, incurs great danger like the shakula, who had presence of mind. Hence these 2 only, namely, he that has much forethought and he that has presence of mind, succeed in obtaining happiness. He, however, that is procrastinating, meets with destruction. Diverse are the divisions of time, such as Kshata, Kala, Muhurta, day, night, lava, month, fortnight, the 6 seasons, Kalpa, year. The divisions of the earth are called place. Time cannot be seen as regards the success of any object or purpose. It is achieved or not achieved according to the manner in which the mind is set to think of it. These two, namely, the person of forethought and the person of presence of mind, have been declared by the rishis to be the foremost of man in all treatises on morality and profit, in those dealing with emancipation. One, however, that does everything after reflection and scrutiny, one that avails oneself of proper means for the accomplishment of one's objects, always succeeds in achieving much. Those again that act with due regard to time and place succeed in winning results better than the mere man of foresight and the man of presence of mind. So in this way, Sri Ramakrishna instructs us how we should be smart enough and waste no more time and put into practice the spiritual ideas to realize the truth. There is another episode in the Mahabharata. Drona was a great teacher of the Pandavas and Kauravas. Arjuna was the dearest student. Arjuna's steadfastness and devotion to the art of archery made his guru proud of him. It was his exemplary skill in archery that won him Draupadi in marriage. He had to shoot an arrow at a revolving target above, looking at its reflection in a pool below, the entire assembly watching him with bated breath. Arjuna successfully hit the target. A man was fishing on the bank of a river. A passerby asked him the way to a destination. The man did not respond. This comes in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Disgusted at the lack of response, even after a couple of more calls, the passerby left the place. Shortly, the man got up from his seat, hurried behind the passerby and asked him what he wanted. The passerby was irritated at the man's fury, at the man's funny behavior, and chided him for his earlier indifference. Why he was indifferent? He did not answer him. The man asked his pardon and said, "Sir, when you called me, I was busy fishing. The fish was about to get hooked into the bait. A little distraction and it would have slipped from the hook." That was Sri Ramakrishna's parable to stress the importance of one-pointedness in spiritual life. One-pointedness, concentrating the mind. Students are businessmen, executives are housewives, scientists are recluses, who will not be happy with a little more concentration. If only our mind could settle on what we want, when we want. But concentration is not something that we can have for asking. It calls for work. No one finds it difficult to concentrate on external objects. Our 5 sense organs, ears, skin, eyes, tongue and nose, present before us an array of sense objects. Life in the world centers around enjoyment of these objects. Our whole being is drawn to what we believe to be a source of happiness. Again, it is not difficult to concentrate on a thought leading to some sense enjoyment. Sense enjoyment, incidentally, is not restricted to the physical level. Objects are enjoyed in dream also. When the gross body does not exist for the dreamer, daydreams too fall in the same category. A A student need not be told to concentrate on his sports activity. Usually that happens spontaneously. He does not think of studies while playing. But concentration on studies is a different matter. Many unrelated thoughts crowd an undisciplined mind. An executive with an administrative problem before him, a researcher with an important project in hand, or a homemaker busy with her household chores, all need concentration. The recluse too attempts to concentrate and meditate on his chosen ideal or his inner self. His concentration, however, is of a different variety. In any case, concentration plays an important part of the life. Concentration is the only method of acquiring knowledge according to Swami Vivekananda. Even the lowest shoe back, the better the power of concentration, the better will the thing be done. This is the one call, the one knock, which opens the gates of nature and lets out floods of light. This, the power of concentration, is the only way, only key to the treasure house of knowledge. These are the words from Swami Vivekananda in his complete works of Swamiji. Extolling concentration, Swamiji also said that if he had the option to do his education all over again, he would prefer learning the art of concentration to mere collection of data. See how much importance is given for concentration. Why is concentration difficult? Is there any way we can improve it? A study of how we perceive will help us better appreciate the problem. How do we perceive things? The eye gets connected to the mind to the sense organ, the sense organ to its sense object, and thus results perception. If I see an object, the eye, an entity different from the mind, gets hooked to my mind, the mind to the sense organ eye, and the eye to the object of perception. Object of perception. In all perceptions, hearing, touch, sight, taste and smell, mind is the common link. It is the internal organ and called the king of all organs. Indriyana manaschasmi, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Among the Indriyas, I am the mind. What happens when a student attempts to concentrate on a book? The student's eye is connected to his mind, which is connected to the book through the eye, and the ideas begin to register in his mind. This is not a continuous process, though. In a few minutes, with his eyes and the book still wide open, his mind has drifted somewhere, maybe towards some future or past event, or it has hooked itself to some mental images. His eye-mind organ object perception chain has snapped suddenly midway at the mind. The severed eye-mind part of the chain drifted somewhere. The poor eye book part is left with the eye-mind part to enliven it. It's a while before the student realizes that he, rather the eye, had gone on an excursion spree with his mind. With determination he tries again to focus on the book and restores the severed link. Evidently, the mind is the weakest link in the perception chain, ready to snap any moment. The perception chain is stable in proportion to the strength of mind. It is this strength of mind that is called willpower. So willpower, we have to make it very strong. That is the main teaching Sri Ramakrishna tells in his course of dialogue. Now let us analyze the eye in the presence of chain. in the perception of chain. I try to concentrate my mind on something. The eye that tries to fix the mind on the object is evidently something different from the mind. Usually, the mind has its own pet agenda and successfully thwarts our every attempt at concentration, every attempt at carrying out our resolutions. Vedanta has a technical name for the eye that is different from the unruly mind, buddhi. Buddhi is an important mental faculty and a powerful tool to discipline the mind. Buddhi is also the seat of willpower. As long as the mind is not disciplined, it continues to act as our enemy. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. Unaware of this, we keep listening to this mind erroneously, thinking that we are free to act and think as we like. But it is not we, but our mind and the senses that are free. We helplessly follow them and labor under the delusion of freedom. This delusion persists as long as we do not attempt to discipline the mind. We saw that the mind does not find it difficult to concentrate on an object or idea leading to the sense enjoyment. That is because, like water and electricity, the mind too follows the path of least resistance. Our mind and senses are constitutionally directed outside. As the Upanishad says, Paranchikani vitranat swayambhustasmat parang pashyati nantaratman. The mind does not pose any problem as long as the enjoyment-oriented perception chain is not snapped. It begins its non-cooperation movement only when its natural course is threatened and it is made to dwell on some noble idea or a task demanding concentration. Swamiji explains what is real freedom. Free. We who cannot for a moment govern our own minds, nay, cannot hold our minds on a subject, focus it on a point to the exclusion of everything else for a moment. Yet we call ourselves free. Think of it. We can't do so as we know we ought to do, even for a very short space of time. Some sense desires will crop up and immediately we obey it. Our conscience smites us for such weakness. But again and again we do it. We are always doing it. We cannot live up to a high standard of life, try as we will. The ghosts of past thoughts, past lives, hold us down. All the misery of the world is caused by the slavery to the senses. Our inability to rise above this sense life, the striving for physical pleasures, is the cause of all the horrors and miseries in the world. Real freedom thus means freedom from the hold of the senses, not freedom for the senses. That explains why concentration is an uphill task. Like water, mind too finds its own level. Water flows of its own accord from a higher to a lower level. But raising it to a higher level involves work, either lifting buckets of it manually or installing a pump which converts electrical energy to mechanical energy and lifts water to the desired level. Even so, with the mind, by its very nature it runs towards sense enjoyment, gross or subtle, making it listen to us and focusing it on what we want, call for work. Work here implies disciplining the mind, making it follow a set of routine, not letting it flit here and there or letting it brood on useless things. And who disciplines the mind? It is buddhi, the I in us, that is helplessly taken for a ride by the undisciplined mind. In fact, As long as we willingly participate in this mind sense prompted ride, buddhi lies dormant. It does not become discernible. So, definitely we should have control of the mind, and control of the mind is one of the main tasks of the spiritual sadhana. So to the extent we control the mind, to that extent we move forward in spiritual life, in raising ourselves from lower life to higher life. Thank you very much. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. May the Divine Spirit protect us, guide us, give us strength and right understanding. May we not hate one another. May love and harmony be with us all. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. May the Divine Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May we work in harmony with great vigor. May our study be illuminating and fruitful. May we not hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.